Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am Pastor T, and we are so excited to have you with us today for Sisters in Ministry, our podcast with my sister,
Yes, yes.
Minister Dee.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah,
Happy
we're
to
just
be
excited.
back.
Yeah, we're happy to be back. We had a few days of just getting settled. We've been lifing. That's what, as the kids say, we've been lifing.
Yes.
Everything from school, going back to school, Minister D
Yes.
is a teacher, to us doing different things in ministry, expanding the ministry, growing. So it's been a lot of things that we've been busy getting done for the Lord, as well as doing our other jobs and things that we do in conjunction with that. Minister D, do you want to welcome everybody and tell them what we're talking about today?
Oh, welcome, everyone. Um, I'm glad to be back. Happy to be here to um, be on there with my sister. Okay. I think I'll go ahead and let you. I got a bit distracted, so I'll let you
Okay,
go
that
ahead
happens
and
to me
kind
too.
of. Yeah.
Listen, we are talking about navigating change, adapting to life's
Mhm.
transition. We have been just going. I can tell you, by the time we get to you and you all see us on there, we've done 4 or 5 things that day. And so I'm just so excited that I still have this opportunity to come on with my sister and
Yes.
for us to share in this topic that we're talking about today. We're emphasizing how change is an inevitable part of life and an inevitable part of ministry.
Mhm.
So, Minister D, if you don't mind, I'm going to hop right in. And we're
Okay.
going to talk about the first part because we really want to encourage those that are in ministry and
Okay.
kind of give them some ways that they can navigate major life transitions in their life. So,
Okay.
we're going to start out with just talking about significant life transition. Our discussion, we're going to acknowledge that life is full of, let me just start by saying that, full of changes, whether it's moving to a new city, starting a new job, or experiencing shifts in our ministry focus. Life transitions, you better hear me today, can be challenging, but also present opportunities for personal and spiritual growth. Right now, we're going to just hop in and talk about some things, about examples of how transitioning in our life and in the ministry, what that looks like, and how you as a leader, how you can adapt to that
Mhm.
change in your life. Minister
Yes.
D,
Yes,
about
and
that.
it's go ahead.
What do you think about that? Some important changes, and what can we tell leaders in reference to what happens when you have to readjust and move and do big life transitions?
Yes. Well, it's not always easy. I will say that from the jump, it's not easy. A lot of times you have to first, you have to always put God first, and some of the tasks that you're getting ready to endeavor and endure, as far as transitioning, sometimes can be a bit overwhelming. But I think that if you planning and all of that, sometimes we can't plan, because you have your plans, and then life has its own plans. I could just say, as far as going back to school, I thought I was going to be able to do the PD days, and also uh, go to prayer and do all the things that I usually do, and it didn't quite work out like that because it ran over. So when you're planning to do your ministry and things like that, you always have to have a plan in place, just in case that don't follow you can't follow through with the original plans. So I would recommend for those that are in charge of ministries, that have ministries, that partner in ministry, to always just keep a plan in place in case they're not able to make it, or just whatever might come up in transitioning, whether it's you're moving somewhere else or at
Mhm.
work or whatever it is. Just keep a plan in place and always have someone in place that you can
Yes.
depend on to do what you need done in case life happens.
Yes. And one
Yes.
thing that I would suggest as well, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Minister D. Another thing is that we as leaders, we have to remember sometimes that things that they will get off track. It won't be at
Yes.
that same time for some unforeseen reason. We may have to change the time. We have to
Right.
learn to be flexible. We can't be so tied in and so in that if it doesn't go off at that time, if it doesn't happen the way that we wanted it to happen, then oh my goodness, we just just thrown off track and we can't get it done. Well,
Right.
in ministry, yes, what we do is important. We're winning souls for Christ. That's what we
Mhm.
do. That's what we've been called to do, to share
Yeah.
the word of God with others. But alongside that, and you're doing a regular job as well, as we call it, in your career,
Yes.
and as
Mhm.
my Sister Minister D stated, you are lifing, then you have to really, really, as she said, have plans in place. I learned, Minister D, over time.
Mhm.
In that I had to learn how to, if I can't do it, get someone else to do it, or if it
Right.
looks like it won't happen, reschedule it. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with saying, hey, it can't happen this time,
Mhm.
I have to reschedule.
Right.
Or for some unforeseen reason, you decide, hey, it would be better if I did it at a later time. Just be flexible, be open, as
Yes.
Minister D was stating, and allow the Holy Spirit to direct
Mhm.
you. Yeah, there is some calmness in the madness. You can calm
Yes.
down and say, hey, I can get a handle on this. But if you think as a leader that every time things are going to go this way, that way, this way, that, it
Right.
won't happen
Right.
that way.
No.
And so, yeah, you will. And then sometimes, like me, I can feel like, hey, I can do it all when I start out that morning. By the
Right.
end of the day, I discovered that I overloaded my plate. It was too much. And so something wounds up falling through the cracks. Minister D?
Yes, I agree with everything that you have said, but I feel that if the planning is if you just go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
make a plan, get your people, have people in place where you don't have to worry about it. You can call them at a moment's notice because they already know what's going on. It is. I think great teamwork
Mm-hmm.
is the success of any ministry or any kind of ministry that you want to do, any activities in the ministry life that you want to try to pursue. You always have to have an action plan. So I
I
would
agree with you.
recommend, like Minister Pastor T, I'm sorry, Pastor
No.
T said, planning. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what you have to do, and that's what needs to be done. And you might not get everything still done, but it'll be in place, and it'll work
I
out better if you have a plan in place. Minister,
I agree with you.
yes, go
Um,
ahead, Pastor.
if if you're not having a plan, then you're planning to fail. And so that's
Right,
what my pastor, Bishop O.D.H. Hines, would always say: if you don't
hmm,
plan, then what you're doing is planning to fail. And
right,
then I love what you said: teamwork's people, teamwork. There's no I in teamwork. It makes
right.
the dream work. And so
Yes,
all of us working together, we can get it done. Now I can be extensive when it comes down to planning. I
hmm,
have calendars on the walls and all that kind of stuff where everybody's like, oh my goodness. I have, short term, midterm, term, long range goals. But that's how I kind of keep everything in its proper perspective. Now, does that mean that things don't fall through the crack? Well, of course it doesn't, because life happens. And when that happens, I agree with Minister Dee that you have to have people in place that you can count on, that you can call and say, hey, I was supposed to teach this Bible study. I was
Yeah.
supposed to do this prayer meeting. I was supposed to, teach this. I was supposed to preach this, not getting to do it. Hey, I'm going to send you my notes. Can you
Mm.
please pitch it for me today?
Right.
And it makes a world of difference when you have someone that you can count on to do that. So I agree with you wholeheartedly in reference to that. And
Mm.
then for those that may be facing transitions like this very moment, meaning things like they may be have had a significant loss. Yeah,
Right.
something like that. Isaiah 41:10 says, it reminds us of his strength and of God's presence in our life. Listen, losing loved ones, all of that is a part of our life journey, growing and witnessing how God can do things in a new way in our life. That's something that's that goes along with life. Then
Yeah.
having some patience and trusting in God's timing.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
very crucial as a leader, as one that's in ministry. And then a lot of times I know it can feel like things are very uncertain, but if we keep our eyes on God and trust Him and be open and available, that's the part, open and available, then you will be able to face any kind of transition as a leader, as a ministry leader, as anyone that's doing ministry as you are going forth. What do you have to say, Minister D? What do you think?
Yes, I think it's most important to always keep the mindset of God being the head of everything. I think a lot of times I have so much going on, and I might have to go and someone wants you to pray or do something, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going and you're always anxious. I know that I'm
Mm-hmm.
always anxious when it comes to doing ministry, and I said, "Oh God, I don't think I prepared myself enough to do this." And when I get there, because you have to keep your relationship solid with God, and God just take over. He take
Yes.
over, and everything falls into place. So if you keep your relationship with God first, everything else will fall in place. What needs to be said can be said. What needs to be done can be done, and I think it will all work out. And just keep yourself prayed up, keep yourself study your word, do all those things where when you feel like you can't get it together and it's too much, you'll walk in the room and God will have it all ready for you to just open your mouth, and what you need to say, what you need to do will work out. So that's
Yes,
Pastor
I agree
C.
with you. Well,
Yes.
before we go ahead, and this happened earlier when I was on
Mhm.
another podcast with our brother earlier with his
Mhm.
new show that he came out with. Someone
Okay.
wrote from the gaming platform. Remember, now we're not just connected through YouTube, we're not just
Right.
connected through Facebook, but
Right.
also the gaming. And so
Yes.
Amanda said, "Are you guys sisters?" Yes, we're not just taking a
Right.
thing that says
Mm.
sisters in ministry. We
Right.
really are
Really are
sisters.
sisters.
We're
Yes.
sisters. We had the same parent, had the same parents, and so we are sisters. I'm the older sister, and this
Yes.
is my beautiful baby sister,
Yes. Yes.
Minister D.
Well, thank
And
you.
so, yes, we are really sisters in
Yeah.
ministry, doing ministry together. So, thank you for your question. We always want to stop and just say, acknowledge you guys when you're tuning in
Yes.
and you ask us questions. But yes, to answer your question, yes, we are really sisters.
Yes, we
Yes.
are.
Minister D, I'm sorry I cut you off when you were sharing. I
Mhm.
agree with you in all the things that you were saying. Life can be so uncertain when you're doing things, especially when you're trying to, because with us, we were raised with excellence. Everything
Yes.
that you do it had to be done in excellence. We had a mama that you weren't gonna be able to do whatever you want to do. Like the late
No.
Lady Betty Rosette Moore Merriweather, you were going to do what you wanted to do. You were going to dress the way you were supposed to. You were
Right.
going to do what you were supposed to do, what was expected of you. And,
That's right.
growing up, I didn't see it for
Mhm.
what it was, not knowing that it was preparing us for all the things that we were going to have to do
Right. Right.
in ministry, and to do it at a level that would be exceptional. And so,
Right.
I thank them for that. I thank my
Yes.
mother for that, that she made us God fearing women, and she taught us how to be
Right.
women of God. And so
Right.
I thank and praise God for that. But she also taught us how to navigate things when we face them in our
Right.
life, how to
Right.
stay strong and to stay strong and to be okay with things. And that she reminded us constantly, whenever she's a
Mhm.
great person to talk to if you were going through something, because she was
Yes.
going to remind you that you are victorious and that you can do it. Minister D.
Yes, I agree. We were most definitely raised in excellence. Everything about my mom, if you're in church and you're up doing something, she had a look about herself that
Mm.
you knew that you were getting ready to mess up, or you had already messed up. So all of that helped, like my sister said, all that helped shape us into who we are. And not so long ago, I went back home for a women's conference, and I realized not only did they raise us in excellence, but the churches that my father pastored,
Mhm.
when I look at everything and I was able to uh just really see, I realized we were even raised up under people in the church that were of excellence. But sometimes it takes you growing and to mature to realize that. And it was just an extreme honor to know. And I said, man, my dad, he really had it together. My mom, he really chose, and he was really careful about who he had us around. So we couldn't do anything but be excellent in the end, because we were under a lot of great people. And I
Mhm.
just thank God for my parents, for everything that they taught. My mom, yes, she was very strict when it came
Mhm.
to church. Everything we done, we had to do it in excellence. When it
Yeah.
came to my mother, she wouldn't accept any less.
Any
So
less. We had to do it
yes,
in decency and in order. She was a great steward of
yes,
time. She was a
mhm,
great steward of things, carried out things in order, in an orderly
right,
fashion. And she groomed us in that way, whereas
right,
we knew the proper way of doing things. I tell you, you have no idea. When I think I was about 15, I may have
mhm,
been 14. I don't know. I went to Miss Manners School of Manners. I said, "Oh my Lord, it was a lot," and I had to learn how to walk. I had to put this book on my head and walk. I
mhm,
learned how to walk the proper way, how to
yes,
cross my legs the proper way.
yes,
And I said, "My goodness, it was a lot of stuff to all of that." And I
yes,
thought to myself when it was happening, because my
right,
mom realized one day we were going to transition from being children, young ladies, to women, to wives, to all these things that we're doing now. And
right,
I couldn't see
right.
it then. I thought this lady is crazy. She didn't actually found a class to put me in while I'm sitting here. But you know what? It really just groomed me, and
Yes.
it really caused me to be able, when I'm in situations, when
Mhm,
I'm at I remember when I went to the president's prayer breakfast and I was serving on that team.
mhm,
I was just in awe how she had prepared us. I knew
yes.
exactly what to do,
That's
how to
good.
sit, how to
Yes.
respond, how to engage. It was just
Yes.
to think back over our life. I was like, gosh, I never would have imagined that all this preparation would lead to these types of things in our life. I mean,
Right.
they were truly, truly visionaries that
Mhm.
could see things I feel in the spirit. They could see shifts and
Right.
movements, things that we
Right.
should be doing and what we would become. I
Yes.
think they knew that.
Yes. I have to agree with you. And she's just speaking lightly, you guys, because during that time, at being the age 15, and by me being the younger sister, of course, I admired everything my big sister was doing. And yes, mom had her in a lot of things because she was always in beauty pageants and
Oh Lord.
different things like that. And guess what? She won. She would win. It would all everything that was going on, she would always come home with the trophy. So, or whatever they were doing, she was always first place. So for, I think about what, 5 6 years was running
Mhm.
straight, she won every time.
Well,
um all that, I think, prepared her to do what she needed to do in those times. So it was a lot into all the things that mom was, you know,
mhm.
having us to do, and things that we learned. So she don't talk about that part, but yeah, she won every beauty contest that she was in. So that was, those things were, at that time, that was excellent. So
Well,
I
I
think
have
mom
to
did
tell
a
you,
great
my
job.
sister. I have to tell you, my sister. I didn't go into the beauty pageant knowing that I was going to win in beauty pageants because what one of our members didn't they just
Uh-huh.
they put me in the pageant.
Right,
And
right,
when they put me in the
right,
pageant, I was like, oh my goodness. I thought it was like a talent thing because that was my thing. I wanted to
right.
sing and I thought I
Mm-hmm.
was,
Right,
fame and I was
right.
going to get to do all those
Yep.
kind of things. That's what I thought
Right.
everything was.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got to doing all of these different things, I said,
Uh-huh.
man, and my mom said, and you remember the things. And when you go there, listen, you wanted to make sure you did the things you were supposed to do because you
Right.
wanted to really excel and for your parents to shine. I wanted my
Mm-hmm.
parents to shine. And then my mom always reminded me as the oldest daughter, I was setting the example
Mm-hmm.
for my baby sister and also for my brother and things that were to come behind
Right.
us. So it was a lot of responsibility. She would always say, she and my dad, to whom much is given, much is required. So I would
Mm-hmm.
constantly think, hey, I've got to do this the right way. I got to make sure that I try to do my best and try to win. If I don't win, at least place and those kind of things. And so there was so much that was really going on during that time. But she was really, really preparing us as I
Right.
look, because she was such a woman of God. She
Mm-hmm.
taught, people don't know, she taught Sunday school. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
faithfully.
Yes.
Taught Sunday school. She would speak and share, not just in the
Yes.
town, but everywhere.
Right.
She was, how they say, they were requesting her all
Right.
over the place. And she would go and she'd have a lineup and she
Right.
contacted me and she said, okay, now this Saturday you won't be able to reach me because I'll be in Birmingham or I'll be
Right.
over in
Right.
this place. So I'm going to be down in Huntsville. And so
Yes.
you'll have to, try to get with me later because I've got to do so and so and this and that.
Right.
And
Right.
never knowing that we were going to turn into those church ladies because that's
Right.
what I used to say, well, go on, churchy lady. And I would laugh and all those kind of things,
Yep.
not knowing that, hey, part of what she was doing would become part of our destiny and who we are.
Right. Right. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
you were there more, I think, at the end for the a lot of the things that she really once our father passed that she began to do. I think she began to, have even more engagements during that
right.
time.
All right. I would travel with her because I wanted to make sure that she was okay because she was so used to having my dad.
Mhm.
And when you have that spouse that is that's for whatever you do and they're always there and you lose them, that's a big transition. So
Mhm.
I would do my best to try to make myself available and um, well, I wasn't the only one hit just, seeing about her as far as those things. You also came home sometimes just to be with her on things. So during those times, I think we were there when she needed us most.
Yes, I
So,
think we were, but you were there most of the day to day because you lived there and you were
right,
with her. And it was,
right,
she would always say, well, and your sister's going and I'm going to call her up.
Right.
to sing. She'll call up to sing, or she say, well, we got there and Dee had to sing and Dee had to introduce me. And
Right.
then Dee had to do something else on the program as
Mhm.
well. And I said, did they give her an honorarium? And she said,
Mhm.
well, no, she came with me. And I said, okay, Mom. And so, just our whole life, because I think a lot of times when people hear us talk, and we
Mhm.
talk about it, and we're still focused on transitioning because we're sharing with you in our life from where we came from to where we're
Right.
going, and
Right.
how you can do that, and then
Right.
sometimes how you don't see what's going on that's actually
Right.
going on in the background that's
Mhm.
transitioning you into
Yes.
different things. Listen, it's not happenstance that you got that promotion at your job. It's not
Right.
happenstance that you've been called into the ministry. It's not
Mhm.
happenstance that they appointed you over the particular ministry that you're over there
Right.
at the church or within the ministry where you're serving. None of that is happenstance. The thing
Right.
is learning to be open to
Mhm.
that transition, because it'll be a moment of
Right.
transition and of
Yes.
change. And it
Right.
may stretch you way more than you thought was
Mhm.
possible for you to do. But I tell you what, when he opens that door, and I'm talking about the
Yes.
Lord, when he
Mhm.
opens that door for you to walk through, listen, if you say yes and walk through that door and you look back, you'll say, man, this was
Right,
worth
right. And in transitioning, I guess one of the biggest things is do not get discouraged.
it. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times when you're in church and you're transitioning and God's getting ready to elevate you and move you to new things, it seemed like everything at church just go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like people that you're normally okay with at church, and sometimes it's not the people, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
is you yourself, but you have to stop and really just look at the situation. But a lot of times in transitioning, you get discouraged. You feel like, oh my God, what is going on here at church? Everybody's changing. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
is. But what God is doing, He is preparing you for your new endeavor with Him. He's getting you ready, because a lot of times we have to get over the hurtful part of things before we can
Mm-hmm.
even go to a different level. And I'm speaking from experience, because I had
Mm-hmm.
to learn everything that happened in church is not to harm you. It is to
Mm-hmm.
help build that character that you need, is to help make you stronger. And when situations come your way, you don't break in that moment. You know how to handle it, and you know how to say, okay, God, I need you to give me the words to speak to this person, because they have really hurt me, or they have really been rude to me. So it's just a trend. When you're transitioning, just remember, like Pastor T said, it's you're transitioning. So all that come along with transitioning. So don't forget that.
I agree.
Pastor T.
And then go ahead, Mr. D. I
No,
cut you off.
go
Okay.
ahead.
So, and then listen, in
Mhm.
transitioning, sometimes there's as you said, that things change, but that change is necessary.
Right,
Sometimes there's a breaking away of people that used to be your little ace boon coon. All of a
right,
sudden, no, it seems like, hey, I'm calling you and I can't get you on the phone. We just
right.
don't seem to be lining up. Not even just that, some of the things that you used to make in your routine, all of a sudden it doesn't make any sense in your
Right, right.
routine. Well, you're transitioning to something else. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that something isn't
Mhm.
happening. And so,
Right.
what I learned to do is say, okay, Lord, even though I don't know as a leader where this is going, and
Mhm.
you're placing this in my heart and for me to do, I am going to be obedient, and I'm going
Right.
to step out on faith, because that's,
Right.
and I am going to do it. I can tell you, it's been times when we talked as sisters, real sisters
Mhm.
in ministry, and we've talked about things with the ministry, things that we're doing, trying to do, and we're
Mhm.
going, wow, that's a lot. That might be too much to do. And then
Right.
the Lord will open that door. He'll
Mhm.
he'll make that way, and we'll say,
Yes.
wow, this is what it was all along in our lives, in our careers, in our
Mhm.
everything that we're doing. Doors will open. I guess
Right.
that's what I'm trying to say to you. And sometimes we'll be very hesitant. We won't want to pull away from the norm. Okay.
Right.
But we're
Right.
getting over into the area now, Minister D, where we don't like to be uncomfortable. For us, that
Right.
comfortable feeling, it puts us
Right.
in a
Right.
feeling of, oh, I don't know what's
Mhm.
going on. This is
Yes.
what I'm not used to. You have
Right.
some as leaders, they will shut down because it's like, oh my goodness, you
Yes.
asked me to do something else, or if
Right.
you've been
Right.
just a regular,
Mhm.
I don't mean it in a bad way, just someone that comes and you serve on the others, and then all of a sudden you're being elevated to be the one that's the leader, and you
Yes.
kind of shut down. No, it's during those moments that you need to see that in order for you to be who it is that God has called you to be,
Right. Right.
you have to be uncomfortable. You have
Yes.
to be uncomfortable.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree, Pastor T, with that. But um, I guess I would tell everyone don't give up because it get really hard during those times. If you
Mhm.
have people that you can talk to for spiritual help, spiritual guidance, that's great. I was able um, to have my sister and I have brothers as well, but I've talked to her a lot about things at church and
Mhm.
times that I have gotten discouraged. She just kind of give it to me the way it really is. I can recall that I was at a revival, I think, and I was talking to her about it, and I really was wanting a word from God, and I really felt like they didn't give me my word. And I've told her, I said, I felt like they just, wasn't giving me my word. And she put a question out there for me that was real and that made me realize that, okay, sometimes it's just is not about you. That word is not for you. And then she came back and asked the question, so what they didn't give you that word. I mean she just put it out there in a way that it made me realize, well, you know what, she's right. And then to go on and make me understand that, even though you wanted that word, the word just was not that they were given. You know how they go around, and let me clarify what I'm talking about. When they
Mhm.
go around and they say, God told me to tell you so and so, or whatever the message is, that they're giving different ones. And I was like, God, I'm waiting on a word from you. I'm
Mhm.
waiting on a word. And they every night, no word from God. But I
Mhm.
didn't realize in that time that was not the way God was uh,
Mhm.
gonna give me that word. And it was just in that moment she made me realize, okay, well, it's not gonna be about you all the
Mhm.
time. And I was like, okay, because a lot of people get discouraged if the pastor has a word for a special person, or someone tells someone different things and they're in the transitioning phase of change, and they feel like, okay, God, I didn't get a word. They just kept that word. They didn't want to give me that word. But no, they really didn't have a word for you. They gave the word to who they had the word for from God. So a lot of times we get caught up in that, and I don't want anyone to feel discouraged because
Mhm.
if someone say I have a word, you don't receive that word, because those are some of the issues that I had as I got further into ministry. I was still kind of at the baby stage with that, but as I grew and grew, I figured out that, hey, if God have a word for you, He'll get that word to you. So just remember that. And I'm speaking on the church part because I based a lot of my decisions off what happened at church, and I don't
Mhm.
want anyone else to ever do that, because that's not God elevating you by what the people think or what the people have to say about you. So just
Mhm.
remember that in your transition, when you're transitioning to new and different things. Pastor T.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so important. We've all experienced, and I've been writing on a book here this summer about getting past church hurts so that it won't stop you from being who God has called you to be and doing the things that He has assigned to your hands. Because here's what I've learned over time: is never going to come the way I thought it was going to come. It's never going to happen that way. And so, and then once it happens, you look back and you say, wow, I never saw it coming that way.
Right.
Okay, Lord, on that time when, I was at church and I couldn't believe they did so and so. I couldn't believe they said so and so. And I
Right.
can't believe they gave that to somebody else. And I've been doing so and so and so and so.
Right.
I can't tell you
Right.
how many times I've experienced that over my
Right.
lifetime. But guess what? God had something
Right.
else in mind. And,
Right.
and, and I had to learn during that waiting season, during
Right.
that transition
Mm-hmm.
season. Somebody else may be in summer and he got you still over in winter. And it's
Okay.
okay to be in winter because it's not time for you to be in summer yet. And
Right.
so I had to learn over time to be okay. Now, do we have those moments? Come on, leaders. I know where you're in the leaders meeting and it seems like
Mm-hmm.
the leader, if you're not the pastor, because I'm talking to everybody, if you're not the pastor or minister, but you're a ministry leader and you feel like the pastor is
Right.
always calling on this other person, that's because they're calling on this other person. It does
Right.
not mean that you're
Mm-hmm.
not valuable on the team.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it's a work that's being worked inside of
Mhm.
you. And I said, Lord, I tell you that work though, that's inside of you, it can
Yes.
feel like a lot. So I agree with you, Mr. D. It can be hurt. It can hurt you. It can
Yes.
make you feel rejected. It can make you feel like wanting to give up. No, you have to stay the
Right.
course.
Right.
But a lot of it, when you're going through, remember now, you got to grow. You can't get to, how am I going to have a testimony, but never, no, never a test?
Right.
I can't get to a testimony without having a test. I
Right.
can't say that he'll bring you through something if I never went through anything. I can't say
Right.
that he'll open doors and make a way if I've never experienced thinking that the door may not open, that this
Right.
way may not come. And
Right.
so in life, in order to grow as a leader, in order to grow in ministry, in order to grow in your spiritual walk, you
Right.
have to know that every single time, as you stated, and I agree with you, it's not about you, it's
Right.
all about Him. And remember, His thoughts are not your thoughts, His ways
Mhm.
are not your ways. And so
Yes.
you will not be able to time and make a deal and a
Right.
bargain with
Right.
God to try to get what you want. It won't go
Right.
any quicker. When it's time, it's time. And here's the thing
Right.
I love, Minister
Mhm.
D, is that when
Mhm.
it happens in a glorious way. That you
Yes, it
know that
does.
only God could have done it.
Oh,
You feel
yes.
like just shouting and running and hollering when it happened. Like I can't,
Yes.
Lord, I never would have thought, Jesus, this is what it was, Lord.
Okay.
And so I agree with you. Don't give up. Yeah, and don't feel
Mhm.
defeated because if He said it. If he
Oh,
revealed
yes.
that to you, it's
Mhm.
coming. That day is coming. It's
Right.
just not
Right.
today. And you have to be okay with that.
Right. Right. That's right.
Well, let's see, Minister D. I talked a lot about that. Let me see here. Yeah, we didn't went on. We've been just really talking here. Let's see. I want to make sure that everyone kind of got the main points that we were sharing, which
Yes.
was that we were talking about navigating change as a
Mhm.
leader, as a pastor, as a minister, adapting to life transitions, be it at home, school, or play. We talked about some of the stories and shared some significant life transitions that we've experienced in our life,
Right.
praying that will help you as a leader to adjust or one in ministry as you are growing.
Yes.
Strategies for adapting to change. We gave you some of
Mhm.
those. Minister D reminded us that we need to plan. We have to plan. We
Yes.
have to plan. We have to plan. And then we
Mhm.
did encouragement for those facing transitions. We gave some very open and honest conversation in
Right.
reference to things we had
Mhm.
experienced. And then we even had a listener to come on and say, hey, and say, are you guys sisters? Yes, we are
Yeah.
sisters. I don't know about you, Minister D, but I really enjoyed this podcast on today and sharing with everyone. You know, our hope and desire is that you'll hear something
Yes.
on this podcast that will really cause you to get up and going with your life, knowing that all things are possible through Christ, that you can
Yes.
partner with your sister, that you can partner with your brothers, that you can
Mhm.
partner with your aunts and uncles in
Yes.
ministry,
That's
and that
right.
it can be successful. It can
Yes.
go forth the way that God has planned for it to do. If you were to ask my sister and I if we were going to be doing a podcast a year this time last year, we'd have been like, what? A podcast?
And not
No.
because of her, but because of me. So because I just never saw myself right here. She's always been the very outgoing one, and things like this I just don't usually do. But um,
It has worked
I'm
out.
transitioning, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, when she came up with this idea, I was like, okay, so it
Yeah,
seemed to be working really well. So it's yeah, I'm
yeah, it
believing
is. It's really, I think it's really coming along.
it.
We're getting stronger and stronger, more comfortable
Yes,
as we come on each and every time. We're still trying to feel, our way of what
yes,
works for the podcast, what to
mhm,
share, and all those kind of things. And so I'm just so very grateful that I have my sister, Minister D, my real
yes.
sister, not just in ministry,
All
but my
right,
baby
your
sister,
sister.
to
Yes.
really do ministry with me. So, Minister D, is anything you want to say before we bid them farewell for today?
I would just tell everybody to always keep God first, and keeping God first, you can be successful at anything that you have going on in your life.
I agree with you. So until next time, we want to encourage you to continue to be blessed of the